Hello. This is Raltrily. Welcome back to the channel, and upon popular request, I'm going to go over my Shanks deck list that almost won me the Egman tournament this past week, but did in fact win me my locals for the first time ever. I'm a big fan of Shanks. I've been on the Shanks train for a long time, but I really think it is an underplayed leader that has a lot of potential. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First off, I play 4 2K blockers of Otama, doubling as a minus 2000 power with the on-play ability, in case I want to decrease something in power to be able to remove it with a Beckman or a Newgate or some other removal mechanic. I also play 4 copies of Lime Juice. Lime Juice is another 2K counter, but at the same time, its on-play ability, being able to basically inactivate a blocker with 4000 power or less, has come into play for some late games, especially if there's a Rebecca blocker or some kind of smaller blocker that they have, and you're calculating how to go for life. This can definitely help skew the math in your favor. My last round of 2Ks are 4 copies of the 3-cost Hongo. I'm actually debating to go ahead and take out this as a 2K, add 4 more 2Ks into my deck, and play Hongo simply because its activate main is so powerful in a control style Shanks. I use this in conjunction with Beckman and Edward Newgate, as well as Silver Rayleigh, to KO some stuff that you really shouldn't be able to do. This is an insanely powerful card. The more I play it, the more I like it. And I really feel like once you put it down, the opponent has to swing for it and get it out of the way. So those are my 12 2K cards. I play 2 copies of Building Snake because, again, I go for a control style Shanks, and I think Building Snake with a Beckman lets you KO a 9000 power character, bringing immense value, but at the same time, it does feel really bad to draw this late game, as well as, no counter. I can definitely see why people don't play Building Snake, but I personally like it in my deck. Same thing with my Searchers. I play 3 copies of the Uta Searcher. I have been between leaving it in there and taking it out. I really only use this card to search for a Beckman or a 10-drop Shanks. So it's really nice to set up your late game and your top deck kind of early on, but at the same time, there's nothing worse than needing a big body, taking a life, and pulling an Uta Searcher. It really doesn't help you in a lot of situations. Moving on, I play 4 copies of Lucky Rouge. I've seen some people take it out, some people decrease the amount that you play. I think this card is vital for a couple different matchups, and it forces the opponent to play around the presence of this card. So BY Luffy, being able to remove some of those 6000 power Luffys or Sabos really makes a difference. Even into Doflamingo's matchup, I think it does a good job of slowing down Dofi's board build, as well as also protecting you from the onslaught of attacks. So I play 4 at a minimum. I wish I could play 5. I really don't see myself ever dropping down to, maybe at most, I would drop down to 3. Moving on, I only play 1 copy of Silver Rayleigh. I think it is a great card, 5 cost, 6000 power blocker. It's a very strong blocker, but at the same time, when its on-play ability would be activated, 2 characters or more, really, I would rather play something else that could help deal with the opponent's board and KO some stuff instead of just play this blocker. But it is nice to have another blocker on the field, and at the same time, if you're really hurting 4 cards, Silver Rayleigh can help move that forward a little bit. I also like playing 4 copies of Yasop. This card is top 3, top 4 cards in this deck. I know some people have taken out completely, which I think is insane. It has a great on play, give an extra Dawn, as well as that when attacking, being able to remove 1000 makes such a difference. Instead of 7,000, you can go to 6,000, boom, Egman. I mean, there's so many more cards that you can KO when you use Yasop in conjunction with some of your KO control cards. I fought so much putting this next card into my deck, but after putting 1, I added 2, and after 2, I added 3. That's right, it's Ace. It feels so bad to play a card that you're not getting the full effect on the card, right? We're not getting rushed because our leader isn't a white beard character. But for any matchup like BY or Lucci, even, anything, even the mirror matchup, anything that would basically want to remove or KO your board, having this to stick on makes a world of a difference. Shanks is really geared around playing things on curve and playing big bodies. So having something that can stick and isn't going anywhere can really help keep some control on your side of the board, even if they're trying to KO other things. I like playing 2 copies of Edward Newgate. I think this card is a winner when it comes to the Doflamingo matchup. I know it's not searchable and doesn't have any counter, which definitely limits it. But if I'm not really playing a matchup where I get any use, I will simply pitch this for using, one of my event cards. You 100% have to play, no matter what, 4 copies of Ben Egman. This card gets insane value. Being able to trash an opponent's character of 6,000 power or less is insane because it goes past any KO blocking abilities, right? You can KO Sabo blockers, you can KO Burgess and Blackbeard. This trash versus KO language that Bandai has put in, Egman definitely takes advantage of it. I don't love the language difference, but I'm going to go ahead and use that to my advantage. Egman has won me so many games. Even just getting rid of a blocker makes a huge difference towards the end. Unfortunately, I only play 1 copy of Monkey D. Dragon, and I'm really trying to find some more space for it. This card gets insane value with its rush and on play, being able to essentially swing 2 pretty big bodies in 1 turn. I do think though, however, sometimes you'd rather save your Dawn and play a 10 cost Shanks or something else with rush, but it is a great option to have for your 8 Dawn cost. Now, an even better option and 100% the best card in this deck, 4 copies of Silver Rayleigh. Hands down, that's it. Best card in the deck. Minus 3k, minus 2k, and pop a 3k. Come on, guys. Even if I'm not going to go for a big body, let's say in conjunction with Building Snake and KOing a 9 cost, or excuse me, a 9 1,000 power character, you can still go through and minus the board, weakening their attack power next turn and popping one of their small characters or some kind of blocker. Once I'm able to search for this card in EBO2 with those general red searchers, this deck is going to get even better. Of course, I have to play the 10-drop Shanks. I actually play 4 copies of them. I've seen people take them out, put 3 copies, you name it. But this card really is the beginning of the end. And what I mean for that is when that goes on the board, if your opponent doesn't have an answer for it, it slowly just builds and builds, and they're going to lose in a couple turns. Now, if they have a Rygo or a, Red Rock, that works out great for them. But especially if you have 2 in hand that you've been able to get with your Uda searchers early on, I think it's pretty demoralizing to play a Shanks. They spend a lot of Dawn to kick it back, and you just play another one. I think that really, really puts the pressure on them. And I think this wins a lot of games for the Blackbeard matchup. Because, minus 1,000 or even minus 2,000, some of those big 10-drop Blackbeard blockers can really weaken and limit your opponent's options. I do love this card, but I would only ever play one copy, and that is the Bomb Shanks. Again, it's another top deck that you can search with Uta since it's a red-haired pirate, but at the same time, being able to put a 12,000 power character on your board and then go ahead and KO one of their big bodies can really shift the momentum in your favor. I've been playing between 1 or 2 copies of this, but Goldie Dragon is an absolutely goated card, and it has won me so many matchups, specifically BY Luffy. Just the presence of this card for BY Luffy can definitely put a lot of pressure on your opponent, and it can definitely make a lot of games that are unwinnable a Hail Mary chance, but you can always go for it. In terms of events, I only play 2 copies of Bad Manners Kick Course. It's a great card to go ahead and get rid of a brick that you probably don't want to play during this matchup or during this game. And instead of Red Hawk, which I undoubtedly can't say, it is a fantastic card, but it's just not my style. I like playing 2 copies of Radical Beam to either help me keep my well-needed life towards the end of the game, since Shanks runs so little counter and so many bricks. But also, I like to keep a Radical Beam if, they're going for a Hail Mary, trying to kill a Shanks or remove one of my top-end decks. Being able to give that 4K really helps keep your board strong and wastes essentially one of their turns, which often leads to me going for lethal next turn or soon after. But this is, in completion, my 50 cards for my Shanks deck. Let me know what you think in the comments, what you like, what you don't like. Again, I don't think this is the best Shanks deck list out there. It's just something that works really well for me and my specific playstyle. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm wishing you all the best for 2025.